When Oliver Stone was first approached to helm the film, he was hesitant. At the time, he was working on another controversial subject about the last few years in the life of Martin Luther King Jr., with Jamie Foxx attached to star, and did not immediately wish to tackle a project as incendiary again. 7. He had been previously criticized for being too apathetic towards George W. Bush, despite calling him the second worst president in U.S. history only after Richard Nixon, in his film, W. 2008. 8. Nonetheless, a series of events and persuasion prompted him to finally agree to direct it. 9. Glenn Greenwald, the journalist who worked with Laura Poitras to break the Snowden story, asked him for some advice. A couple of months later, Snowden's Russian lawyer, Anatoly Kucherena, contacted Stone via his producer asking to meet him. 7. Wanting to sell his book about Snowden, Kucherena arranged a meeting in Moscow, in a secure place that Stone would not reveal. It was a fictional book, but Stone developed an interest towards it and called it very Fyodor Dostoevsky, in the sense that none of it is realistic. Stone, who did not know if Snowden would cooperate, was undecided whether to make a fictional film with an unnamed character or a story as realistic as possible. 8. Stone began meeting with Snowden in January 2014. 10. At first, Snowden was wary about the idea of turning his life into a film. Stone went to meet Snowden twice more in late May of that year. 10. And Snowden finally agreed to the idea and even decided to take part. Although he became involved in the project, he was given no script approval, nor did he receive any payment for the film. Payment was instead given to The Guardian. 8. Snowden had seen a piece of Oliver Stone's untold history of the United States and was fascinated by it. 8. Columbia Pictures already had the rights to Greenwald's book on the case. 9. On June 2, 2014, it was announced that Stone and Moritz Bormann had acquired the rights to the nonfiction book The Snowden Files by Luke Harding, and that Stone would write and direct a film based on it. 11. The film on Martin Luther King Jr. was scrapped since Stone was committed to direct Snowden instead. 12. 8 days later, on June 10, 2014, Stone acquired the rights to another book, Time of the Octopus, by Kucherena. Stone used both books as the sources for his screenplay. 13. On November 6, 2014, Open Road Films acquired the U.S. rights to the film, while Wild Bunch was set to handle foreign sales. 14. Deadline Hollywood confirmed on November 10, 2014, that Endgame Entertainment had come on board to produce the film. 15. Pre-production. It's a very strange thing to do, a story about an American man, and not be able to finance this movie in America. And that's very disturbing if you think about its implications on any subject that is not overtly pro-American. They say we have freedom of expression, but thought is financed, and thought is controlled, and the media is controlled. This country is very tight on that, and there's no criticism allowed at a certain level. You can make movies about civil rights leaders who are dead, but it's not easy to make one about a current man. Oliver Stone, director of Snowden, on the difficulty of making the film in the U.S. 7. Before production began, Stone and Gordon Levitt met Snowden in 2015 in Moscow, where he had been living in exile with his girlfriend Lindsay Mills, since evading the U.S. government's attempts to arrest him for espionage. The U.S. government had revoked his passport while Snowden was trying to reach South America. 7. Gordon Levitt described Snowden as a person who is akin to Philippe Petit, whom Gordon Levitt played in the 2015 film The Walk. 16. Problems arose in Russia, however, as companies that were affiliated with the U.S. refused to become involved in the project. 7. And no studio was ready to support it. It became extremely difficult for Stone, who had to finance everything along with the producer. 7. Eventually, financing came through from France and Germany, and the film ended up being shot in Germany as a German production, with contracts being signed 8 days before production began. 7. 9. Since the budget was too tight, Stone had to miss the funeral of his mother, who had died in America while filming was occurring in Germany. Going back to America would have meant that Stone would have had to cut 4 days of work, which he said he could not afford to do. 8.
Casting.
On September 21, 2014, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in talks to play Edward Snowden, the American computer professional who leaked classified information from the National Security Agency, NSA, to the mainstream media starting in June 2013. 17. On November 10th, 2014, news confirmed that Gordon-Levitt would be starring in the lead role. 18. On November 14th, 2014, Shailene Woodley was in final talks to join the film, to play Snowden's girlfriend, Lindsay Mills. 19. On February 2nd, 2015, Scott Eastwood joined the cast to play an NSA agent. 20. On February 4th, 2015, 3 more actors joined the cast. Melissa Leo played documentary filmmaker Laura Poitras, who filmed the most famous recording of Snowden. Zachary Quinto played Glenn Greenwald, the journalist chosen by Snowden to leak sensitive information, and Tom Wilkinson played Ewan McCaskill, defense and intelligence correspondent for The Guardian, who helped report the Snowden story. 21. On February 13, 2015, Variety reported that Ben Schnetzer had also joined the film. 22. On February 19, 2015, Timothy Olyphant joined the film to star as a CIA agent who befriended Snowden before he left for Russia. 23. And Rhys Ifans and Jolie Richardson were added to the cast of the film on February 20, 2015. 24. On February 23, 2015, Nicolas Cage also signed on to play the role of a former U.S. intelligence official. 25. Lakeith Stanfield was added to the cast on February 25, 2015, to play an NSA coworker and a close friend to Snowden. 26. For his role as Snowden, Joseph Gordon-Levitt pledged to donate his entire salary from the film to help facilitate the conversation about the relationship between technology and democracy. 27. Filming. Principal photography began on February 16, 2015, in Munich, Germany. 28. Shooting was underway in Washington, D.C. in early April. 29. And shooting in Hawaii began on April 15th and lasted until April 18th. The house used to film is on the same street Snowden lived on. At the end of April, Hong Kong press reported that crews started filming in the Mira, Hong Kong, followed by outdoor filming in some old buildings in Ta Wan. 30. Shooting lasted until mid-May. 24. Some exterior footage was also filmed in Tokyo. 31. Due to fear of interference by the National Security Agency, Stone decided to shoot the film mostly outside of the United States. 7. We felt like we were at risk here. We didn't know what the NSA might do, so we ended up in Munich, which was a beautiful experience, Stone said. 7. Due to fears of the film leaking, Stone employed self-described ethical hacker Ralph Echemendia as a technical supervisor and made sure all cast and crew used a secure chat and file-sharing program. 32. Music. Peter Gabriel wrote the song The Veil exclusively for the film. The track's video features photos and a cameo of Snowden as well as news coverage scenes and footage from the movie. 33.